Okay, and we're live on the Niche Agent. So today we've got a great guest for you. It's Brad Korn from Kansas City with Keller Williams. So Brad, why don't you take a quick second and tell us a bit about yourself and why you're here?
Oh, thanks for having me on, Ryan. This is great. I love this new technology and being able to share information across the globe. Kansas City, if you've heard me talk before, you probably have heard my story, how I started in real estate, super successful. Goes back to 1991. When I first got into real estate, I thought, I'm going to make like $10,000 every time I sell a house. This is going to be an awesome career. I'm going to get rich, right? So I did make $10,000 if you add up every commission dollar I made for my first 3 years in real estate. I had 3 jobs trying to support my real estate habit. And quite honestly, we moved back to Kansas City after my first 3 years. And, the Midwest, I don't know if we're just a little slow or what. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try this one more time. But I was home, and I had a sphere to work from. I knew nobody in Minneapolis where I first started selling. So I started selling for Burnett Realty when it was just Burnett Realty back in the old days. Everything from facsimile MLS sheets to I watched buyer agency become a law. That happened while I was in Minnesota, or right when I left. So moved back to Kansas City in '95 and gave the real estate thing a try one more time, and that's where I really grabbed on to this whole thing that we're going to share today about relationships and how to keep touch with all that, and have built my business to basically, a machine that generates 100 sales a year, year in, year out for the last 10 years, pretty solid. And I ramped up just like everybody else. I started out where it was one sale this month, none the next, maybe 2 the next, and then none for 2 months. And I built it up to a good 12 sales, and then 24, and then I got up to 75, and then when I broke into that 100, we've built a pretty good machine right there that just keeps spitting out 100 deals a year.
That's awesome. And that's where a lot of agents are aiming for. So definitely want to dive into that and kind of get how you got to there and what you did. But I like to start off with, before real estate, what were you doing before that? Because it's always interesting to hear how people get into the business.
Oh yeah. No, I was in sales my whole life. I mean, I'll take you back really fast and come fast forward through it. Magazine sales in grade school. I always wanted that top prize. When you get the color brochure and it's the 7-foot slow poke that you win if you're the top seller. I was always the top seller in magazine sales. That led to retail sales. I used to sell Levi's at the old county seat stores. Now I'm probably dating myself, though. Well, I did that with the facsimile paper, didn't I? We did. I got into real estate before MLS books. No computers. But so retail was county seats selling Levi's. That led to a group that actually traveled around to the World Series, Super Bowl, NBA, and I got to go to whatever the winning cities were, and we sold T-shirts there. So I got to travel 4 months out of the year. Well, my very first daughter had colic on one of those trips, and my wife said, "You're never traveling again ever," because I was out of town for like a month. We were in whatever city was in the championship, which would have been Kansas City here, I think, pretty soon. So I figured I'd give this real estate thing a try, and went and got my real estate license and did a lot of cutting and pasting and everything in the beginning, and didn't know what to do, and just waited for the phone to ring, and that didn't happen the first 3 years. So that came from retail to real estate.
Okay, so what happened from that shift from, you said you were going to give it that last shot. Was it just moving back to your area, knowing the people? Like, what happened mentally to take you from not really being in the business to actually taking the business seriously?
I don't know if it was mentally necessarily. It was doing business differently. Like when I was in Minnesota, I really didn't have a sphere. I wasn't from there. I thought I'd give this thing a try. I thought, like a lot of people, they come into our office and they're all dressed up for an interview, and you're kind of laughing. You're like, it's real estate. Anybody should take you on,
Yeah.
But I was sitting in a cubicle making great brochures and all this marketing, and so I'm a marketing guy. That's what I've always done and love to do, and it's what I went to college for. So I was doing all these marketing pieces, but that doesn't make the phone ring. When I moved back to Kansas City, it started like I just restarted over like everybody else. Everybody hears the same thing. Build a list of 150 people who know you. Send them an invitation and tell them you're in real estate. So I did all that stuff. But, okay, so there was a breaking point, Ryan. So you're good. You know how to ask good questions. Because there was a breaking point. I was doing postcard mailings, and I would send them out, and I thought I had the awesome message, and I thought I had a great call to action, and I'd send those out for about 4 months, and it's just like, okay, I'm going broke. I'm writing checks here, and I'm not getting rich yet. So then I'd quit. And then 6 months later, I'd do the postcard thing again, and I'd usually pick up a deal or two. That was about it. And it was like a whole lot of work, and I'd get the first mailer out on time, second mailer almost on time, third mailer it's like I'm 3 days late, and then the fourth mailer it's like, oh crud, I got to do my postcard, and then I'd quit. And I've heard this forever that, you know, it's usually about, it's consistency. It's 6, 7, 8, 9 touches where it pays off. And so I'd always quit after the third or the fourth postcard. It was Joe Stump, actually. I was doing by referral only. And he said on one of the calls, he's like, if you're going to do a postcard mailing, do not stop for 6 weeks. In fact, do the whole year's postcards and have them done, have them labeled, have them stamped and sitting on the floor. That was my breaking point, because I started doing that consistently, and it was about the 6th mailer, 7th mailer that I actually got a phone call once in a while.
Yep.
That was the real beginning to a consistent, persistent business, was just doing it consistently, persistently, and not quitting.
That's great. Yeah, so that's a lot of agents do that. Even if they get the results from it, they start getting stuff. They end up getting busy with it, and then I got to get around to that, and then they get it. I've seen it many, many times, and by the time, like you said, by the 5-6 weeks, they can't even keep up with it, and they don't get it done.
Yeah.
So a lot of agents know they need to have a database. They know they need to be working it. You've talked about this many times. You've done training on it. Why do you think agents don't build a database? Why do you think that they're not actually doing that? Like, there's something that happens because they know you ask any agent, oh, yeah, I got to have a database. What is it that you think that happens?
Yeah, there's a great book. I was going to see if it was on my bookshelf handy. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, Olsen. And he explains it perfectly in there. And it's a flaw in the learning and training and everything, I think, that we go to as an industry. Because when you go to real estate training and you all get jazzed about stuff, and you go and you hear a guy up on stage who's saying how he's made it big and how he's, you know, got this successful business, it's like they take you from rags to riches, but they don't tell you what's in between.
Yeah.
And I think what the big deal is, and I've kind of pinpointed this as I've been going through teaching this stuff and going through the database courses. I wrote a course on putting your database into a system and all that stuff. As I'm going through that and having probably about 300-400 agents have gone through this now, what I figured out is we are taught to go get the next piece of business. Now, I actually need to preface this and say this is not a bad thing, okay? I'm not saying this, don't even hear this as this is not how you want to grow your business. But we are so taught to go get the very next deal, and what happens is all these people are flying past us while we're waiting for the guy to say, yes, I'm ready to list now. And there were like 3, you know, I'm going to be a yes in about a month or two. And then there was like 25 people who are like going to be a yes, but they don't even know they're a yes yet. They're going to be a yes in about 6 months or a year. And then there's even more people that are going to be a yes a year from now, 2 years from now. So what I figured out is we go out there and we do 100 calls in one day. Bold is like a perfect example. Bold at Keller Williams is a really intense, it gets you lead generating every day. You're making 20 contacts every day, right? So you know, if you do 100 contacts in a week, right?
Yep.
You'll find about 50 of those people want to get you off the phone as fast as possible, right? They do not want to talk to you. They're like, yeah, I'm not selling, bye. But 50 people actually don't hang up on you real hard. They don't slam the phone in your ear. They hear your pitch, and you get into a little two-way conversation here and there. But, you know, really out of those 50, 47 of them probably don't go much of anywhere. They're just nice. They're polite, whatever. 3 people will meet with you. So we know from Bold about 100 contacts leads to about 2 or 3 appointments. Well, it's those 47 people that were nice to you that if I would have just stayed in touch with them, 3 or 4 of them are going to be moving in the next 6 months, and then 3 or 4 more of them are going to be moving 6 months after that, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So where this kind of really started piecing together is I saw we're taught to go after the next deal and not do any follow-up with the people along the way. Those people hung up on you, don't put them in your database. They don't want to talk to you anyway. But the 48, 47, 46 people that didn't hang up on you, if you stayed in touch with them and started dripping on them, they get a postcard once in a while, they get an email once in a while. Oh, their phone rings again. Hey, it's been a few weeks since we talked. I just want to tell you how great it was talking to you. I enjoyed talking with you. Oh, thanks for your time, too. Hey, if you have any real estate questions at all, just let me know. Yeah, sure. You know, and over time, you don't even have to tell people you're in real estate because you're just staying in touch with them all the time. They know you're in real estate. So that was the big thing. And I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of people, like you said, they're taught to go after that now business. I worked with a guy in my old office, and he used a training system, and they were looking for leads in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And if they weren't doing business in 3 to 4 weeks, he would throw them in the garbage can. He's like, oh, Ryan, he's like, I went through however many people, they're in my garbage can. Like, I'll pay you 10% for your garbage can. So I'll go through your garbage can. If you had those conversations with people, I'll take it. Because the money is in the long-term follow-up. Dean Jackson, who works with Joe Stump, talks about 85% of people are buying 3 months to 18 months, and everyone focuses on the 15% of people. And I was just having this conversation today at lunch with a friend of mine. I said I would rather build the relationships with the 85% of people because you actually have more time to build relationships with them. You have more time to connect with them, build that trust. Whereas if you get someone who's buying in 3 weeks or a month, whatever, you only have 3 weeks or a month to build that trust and try to connect with them. Whereas if you have those long-term people, you have more time to build connections and trust and be their agent. So, but when they're ready, they're not bringing anyone else in. You're the only agent they're thinking of because you built that trust up.
Oh, man, you have said a mouthful that I could probably talk about for the next 45 minutes. So here's the thing, guys. It's not that you don't go get that next piece of business. That's how you grow your business fast. What you do, and this is where the numbers get kind of crazy, and I was just recently on stage with Carrie Sylvester. She's head of technology, and we were talking about the database and action plans. And when I kind of explain this, understand that you can pull out the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, and in the front of the book, Gary talks about his card filing system, right? All we're doing with technology today is we're able to set up campaigns and action plans that automate a series of events to happen, and along the way, what I've done is I've layered in personal touches with the follow-up that is automatic. So just every once in a while it pops up and says, hey, you might pick up the phone and call this person and just say, hey. But then the next time it pops up, it might be 6 months later, and it pops up again and it says, hey, you might want to call this person and make the call about real estate. So the difference between the two calls is, hey, I was just thinking of you today, just I check in on you, and they say, great, doing awesome, kids are good. When we're talking to people on the phone, we can hear opportunities show up, right? Yep. Somebody saying like, well, you know, little Susie started kindergarten. When I hear that, I'm thinking, I wonder if they own investment real estate. Be a perfect time to buy a 15-year note on a rental property that's cash flowing, and I can start talking to them about how they're going to pay for college with this piece of property. It'll be paid off in 15 years. So no postcard, no headline, no call to action is going to land in that person's mailbox on the right day when they're thinking about Susie going to kindergarten, paying for college, you know? Yep. So the automated systems really just pop the call up, and you know, you use everything that we've learned about. Like I use the bold script all the time that Diana taught us, where it's, hey, do you have 2 minutes to give me some help? You know, that call happens once or twice a year. Yep. Once or twice a year, the call doesn't have anything to do with real estate. It's just about staying in touch with them, and every time they hear my voice, they think of real estate. So the numbers, here's where the numbers get absolutely crazy. So we know, and what's really cool too, Ryan, is I saw how the numbers actually are confirmed between the Millionaire Real Estate Agent and NAR, okay? So we've heard the statistic that the average person moves every 7 years or so, right?
Yep.
And I think Gary even confirmed in a mega camp a year or two ago that they saw, or it was family reunion, I think, that they're moving about every 10 years. We're seeing people stay in their houses just a little longer. I like 10 because it's easier for the math I'm about to share with you. So if I have 100 people in my database and NAR says the average person moves every 7 to 10 years, so that's, let's just say 10, For every 100 people in my database, 10 people are moving this year, right? And 10 people are moving next year, and 10 of those 100 people the following year, and so on, right?
Yep.
So the follow-up piece is the piece that's key. But I would have to call all 100 of those people every single month, the same 100 people every single month for the next 10 years to make sure I got all 100 people moving, right?
Yep.
What we do is we call 100 people out of 1,000, and it's not the 10 that are moving this month, right? Follow me so far?
Absolutely, yep.
So now you take those same numbers, and again, I'm going to change the numbers a little bit for math, but you're going to see how it's really the same thing. Just take the 12-to-2 ratio in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. For every 12 people I stay in touch with, I get 2 pieces of business, right? Yep. And that's 8 by 8 and 33 touch, so a communication where you're talking to them every once in a while. So let's just say 120 people in your database divided by 12 is 10 people moving, right? So if I have 120 people in my database and you divide that by 12, then 10 of them are moving. Take that times 2, and now it's 20 sales from those 120 people. The two part is the referral piece that NAR doesn't really. We're not talking about referrals. We're just talking about the one piece. So it's like the numbers line up, and then I start running some crazy math, and it gets nuts. So those people, everybody you come in contact with, is moving in the next 10 years. Pretty much. So if you're looking for the next deal, you'll find 1% of them that are moving now. The other 99% are going to be moving. You just got to figure out a way to stay in better contact with them so they think of you first. And a postcard and an email campaign is not going to do it.
And that's a great point, because I've really seen, I mean, I'm sure you see it yourself probably more than I have, but you were pre-technology, you were doing database stuff. You probably moved into data or using technology for your database, and I'm sure you found, yeah, it works, it helps, and it makes it easier and quicker, but you still cannot replace the personal touch. You can't get rid of that connection, and so many agents have moved to trying to completely outsource it or trying to completely get their hands off it and step away from it and automate it, and they're losing more business than they're getting if they just picked up the phone.
Yeah, let me tell you, we're all looking for the easy way to get business, right? The easiest way to get business. So I live by this rule. If it's easy, it won't work. Now, that sounds pretty blunt. So it's easy to mail postcards, and you do get business. So I can't say it doesn't work. So let me rephrase it. If it's easy, it won't work as well as I hoped it would. Because if I mail out 500 postcards, I want 500 people to call me. Heck, I'd probably settle with 50 people to call me. I'd probably settle with 5 people to call me off of every time I mailed a 500 mailing postcard. Well, you and I know that if we mail those 500 for 12 months, we might get 3 calls, right? Yeah. So that's where, if it's easy, it's not going to work as well as you hoped it would. So picking up the phone and calling people isn't easy. However, over time when you're building those relationships, what I have found out over the last 10 years, because we've been closing pretty consistently right around 100 sales a year. And guys, I mean, I'm not saying that to brag. What I'm telling you is I probably have worked 2 days a week throughout those 100 sales a year. And I don't have some monster team. Like right now, it's me, my wife, and 1 assistant. That's it, 3 people. Wow. And we're doing the amount of business that 8 people were doing because the systems are in place. So it's just about doing that thing that happens first. The other thing I love about having an automated plan that pops the calls up is now I have a system that tells me to focus on my 20%. In Keller Williams, we talk about 20% of what you do generates 80% of your results, right? Yep. And 80% of what we do generates 20% of our results. So what I tell people is it's like, so if you want to double your income next year, double. Now, double zero is still zero. I always joke around about that. But if you want to double your income next year, if you figure out what the 20% is that made the income you made this year, and you just do it 40% of your day, I'm not even asking you to give up half your day. Just 40% of your day, you'll double your income. But it's getting focused on the right activities. Yep. So what I figured out is when I created these action plans and built in these calls, that was my accountability, because I went to my dashboard every morning and I did my calls first and my to-dos before I let the world take me off track. And that matches up with what Gary's told us for years. It's do the 20% first and then go react to the rest of the day. You can react to the rest of the day. You could go golf out all day if you want. You're not going to be able to if you do your 20%, but you can just react to the day and let the day happen and not stress out about it if you do that first. So this plan actually filled up my 2 hours or 3 hours of lead generation every single day if I just fed my database every day and started them on a plan. So
it's a good point, because I was just sharing with my class a couple weeks ago at the office, and I said if they focused on, just say, door knocking, I use that as an example, they went out and did 500 doors a week, so it's 125 or 100 a day. I said if you literally just referred out the business, so I said use 3 hours a day and you referred out every deal. Doing the numbers, I said, well, you could probably easily get 40 listings in a year if you door knocked consistently 3 hours a day, and you just referred it out in our market center. Your average commission is about $10,000. So I said you'd be making $100,000 a year, never having to sell real estate, never picking up a contract, never taking a buyer out in your car, working 3 hours a day, making $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
it's just focusing on those things that are the most important and doing them.
well, I'm going to share a little bonus, because now you're going to have a second class when you hear this, okay? Sure. Coaching as many agents as I have, when people come to me, and what we do is we focus on what they like doing, and then we figure out how to build relationships around that. So door knocking is a perfect example. That's a big thing right now, and people are having huge success. MAPS coaching clients are having huge success with it, getting 30, 40 people through their open houses. So let me throw something out. What if I told you that you could have 100% market share in a neighborhood? And so this sounds totally crazy, and I'm telling you, when you hear this, guys, actually you better turn this off if you don't want to hear it, because it's so simple, it's going to be sick. And yet we talk about how top agents are working to get 10 or 15 or 20% market share in a neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. You can have 100% market share. Here's how you do it. You want me to tell you how you do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick one house and call that your neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so if you took and blow up a Google map of the entire neighborhood, so I can see all the streets and all the houses, right? And just draw a line like you're at the doctor's office, a maze. If I were going to go through the neighborhood and walk it, this is the order I'd go in. Yep. Start at the starting point and knock on doors until 5 people answer the door. Now, every time somebody answers the door, put an X on that house, because you're going to skip it tomorrow. The ones that don't have X's, you're going to go back to them the next day. And you're going to keep knocking on doors that don't have X's until somebody answers the door. And this is the best part. You get to use Diana's Red Wagon script. You don't even have to be selling anything. You don't have to be looking for the next deal. If you remember her Red Wagon script, it's like, hey, I'm the neighborhood specialist. I sell a lot of houses in here, and I'm just knocking on the door to find out what you love about living in your neighborhood. Oh, really? And where, if you could go somewhere, where would you go? And when would you want to be there? Now I'm feeling them out, see if they're a potential buyer or seller, but really I'm finding out about the neighborhood first. Yep. Now I write a handwritten note to everybody who answers the door and says, hey, it was great talking to you about the neighborhood. It is so awesome to see a neighborhood where people are passionate about and they said they love the park, about their park, and they spend time in the park, and it's all about them, no I, me, or mine. That's one thing I teach in that course is no I, me, or mine, the note cards. It's about them. Yep. So think about this. If I just started going through a neighborhood, I'd just knock on doors. This would probably take you an hour a day, maybe, till 5 people answer, write 5 notes, put them on a follow-up system that has 2 more calls in the next 8 weeks, 8 by 8 with 2 phone calls, and then they roll into a 33 touch where I call them 4 more times a year. And if I did that until I had X's on every single house and I had written notes, you are at least at 80% market share in that neighborhood. And that would only be if the person in the house is a realtor. But I bet you'd get some of their business too.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to show you. We were just door knocking tonight.
I love it.
There we go. So it does work.
Picture a war room, and it's like, I am going to overtake this neighborhood, and you put X's when you take them down, and you know who you got to hit yet. It's awesome.
We're doing it with pins, so we've got our pins here, and we're taking them on. It's funny because when you do that and you take them out and you put them into your database, that's where the magic happens. It's not just the door knocking, because a lot of people use the door knocking script and they say You think about buying or selling a home? No. They move on to the next. It's taking them from that conversation at the door to putting them into a follow-up system. And if you do that and you do it consistently, that's when you're going to make the money. It's not the actual. It's not the door. It's not the conversation at the door you're going to convert them at. It's the follow-up consistently after that is where you're going to make your most money.
Yeah, and so I don't even know where this saying came from, but I call this the slow boat to China. You're still going to get to China, but it's the slow boat. But it's really not. Actually, in the grand scheme of things, in a 20-year period in my real estate business, this is about the slowest. I mean, that is not a slow boat, because I've seen everybody else come and go and be up and down and whatever. So I have had coaching clients that say, oh, I'm doing all this stuff you're saying and I'm just not seeing it. Well, it's 9 months from now, 12 months from now when you'll first get the real hint that something's grabbed on, and it's a snowball and it keeps building. So what you do is you keep doing what you're doing to get the business you're getting now. You're just going to take it to the next level and keep adding everybody in and stay in touch with everybody along the way. And this is how we get to, like what I said at Mega Camp, was Gary's challenge is we should all have 5,000 relationships in our database. And he said he knows with 5,000 connections, not a list that you mail postcards to,
right.
5,000 connections in your database, you will never have an up and down business. The market will never drive whether your business is being successful or not.
Yeah, it's
true.
That's awesome advice.
Yeah, that's 5,000 people, according to NAR, is at least 500 transactions, or really probably about 700 transactions if you got some of them and they referred people. 800 transactions. That's how we're seeing 8,000 deals.
It's not as scary as it people think, and they may look at that 5,000 number, and if you did that, like you said, if you added that 5 a day, that's 2,500 people. No, sorry. Yeah, 2,500 people. No, that's 1,000 people a year. So in 5 years, you could get to that point.
Oh, yeah. So I'll break it down. If you just added 5 people a day, 5 days a week, now that's assuming that we as realtors only work 5 days a week, right? If you just did 5 people a day, 5 days a week, that's 1,200 new relationships. Connect with these people. You still might see 20 people in a week, or you mail to 100 home neighborhood. I'm talking about connect with 5 people that you could write a handwritten note to. That's 1,200 people a year, and in 4 years, that's 5,000 people. Guys, are you getting out of real estate this year? Is this your last year in real estate? Because we're going to have to speed that process up. For many of us, we're probably in it for another 4, 5, 6 years. So don't you want a business that's doing a consistent amount of business year in and year out, predictable, based on the number of people that are in your database that are on a consistent, persistent follow-up plan? It's awesome.
That just inspired me to add to this farm. So thank you.
Yeah, so, take every one of those names in that database with a handwritten note. You're going to love it.
So I want to ask you another question, because where I find a lot of agents get hung up on is they know they need to follow up. They know 33 touch. They should be staying in contact with them. Where do you come up with the ideas, the concepts, and what you actually send to people? Because sometimes that's where agents struggle. They go, I know I need to send stuff, but what the heck do I come up with?
Yeah, it is the biggest thing that comes up. So 33 touches and finding 33 things. First of all, how about if I gave everybody the 33 stuff for free?
That would be fantastic.
That'd be cool. Yep. So if you go to kornteam.com, and it's KORN, Korn with a K, team, like a baseball team, TEAM.com /database. Kornteam.com /database. If you go there, that was a site I had set up that now when you go there, it's gonna pop up this thing and ask for your name and your email and your address, and you're gonna hit submit, and then it's gonna take you to a screen where it has all my letters. You can download them and use them for free. Now you will also experience what that drip looks like, because I'm gonna stay in touch with you and remind you that I'm your Kansas City guy. You might even get a call from me once in a while, you know. But what happens is, what was I saying on that? The content. Now I'll tell you the big secret. That's why I wanted to give it to you free first, because it sounds really cool and everybody's writing it down. Now, here's the reality. The content doesn't matter.
Yeah. What
you send them, honestly, truly, does not matter. You could send them, like I've heard this other thing, like, oh, you're a real estate agent, don't send recipes, and, you got to have a great headline, you got to have a great call to action. All that's true. But you can send recipes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I send them because they're not even going to look at everything I send them. And if it's an email, what I'll tell you is we've tracked this with coaching clients that out of 200 emails, 3 or 4 or 5 actually click on anything in the email. The other ones never even saw them, So mailers, they end up in the trash, or one spouse sees it, the other one doesn't. Don't worry about it. Just get your logo. It's the branding where you're branding them. Logo, logo, logo. And then guess what? The phone rings. Hey, Ryan, how's it going? It's Brad. Brad, how you doing? That's where the magic happens.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated. It needs to be consistent and done over and over and over again.
Yeah, so my challenge is use the content. Now, the content that you are going to see generates 100 sales a year. Actually, the content doesn't. The phone calls do. So the content that you're going to download is what's going in my local area's mailboxes every year. In fact, when the plan starts over, this is so nuts, is that you're still getting the same letter next year and the next year and the next year. Don't even put any thought into that, but I'm telling you, that's how much I know content doesn't matter. Somebody's gotten my puppy dog story 6 times in their mailbox. Not one person has called me and said, hey, how come you keep sending me the puppy dog story? It was 12 months ago. They don't remember. They just know they've heard that story before. They don't know where it's from, right? So what I would challenge people to do, and I do challenge people to do this all the time, is copy the content, paste it in, and use it, and put yourself on the plan too, because every day that letter comes out, it drives you crazy. Maybe you'll take 5 minutes one day and change the content, and you can do that. I don't care, but the content doesn't matter. Just start getting the people in your database and get the stuff going out. So
I'm going to put that in the show notes so people can check it out. They can click the link directly and get to your site as well.
Awesome.
For you, is there anything that, other than the phone calls at work, is there anything that's just been, that you found either surprised you or that really was like, wow, this really helped my business take it to the next level?
Yeah, the evolution of this has turned into a couple things. First of all, social media is awesome. People are posting pictures of themselves everywhere. So the evolution of this has come to now, in fact, I think on that site, or if you go to coachkorn.com, coach with a C and corn with a K, you'll see a video on there that just talks about a new world of marketing. And the other one that's really cool is put your 33 touch on, or make your 33 touch bold. And I just called bold because it really, what I did was I took out 4 of the letters in between my phone calls and I added a to-do to go find them on social media. Okay. So let me play this out. I got 33 touches. So about a month and a half after the plan starts, there's 33 touches in a year. About a month and a half, it's a to-do to go find them on social media. A month and a half later is a phone call. A month and a half later is find them on social media. A month and a half later, a call. So I've got 4 calls a year and 4 personal touches a year. Mm-hmm. So the evolution of this, and what I was really amazed with, is when you add that personal touch in there. Like when I go find them on social media, I'll Google their name and they pop up and see Facebook as one of the first links, right? So I'll friend them on Facebook and I'll send them a message, direct message, not this on the wall stuff. It's like, hey, I saw the kids did great at whatever. So it caused me to pay attention to what they're doing, okay?
Right. Yep.
The next time that comes up, 6 or 3 months later, and I Google them and I go to Facebook, I don't remember 3 months ago that I just friended them on Facebook and sent them a message. I don't even think about it after I get done there. But it pops up again, and I go to Facebook, and I click, and we're already friends on Facebook. So then I go back to Google, and I see that we're not friends on LinkedIn. So I grab them on LinkedIn. I send them a message. Oh, my gosh, I can't believe we haven't hooked up on LinkedIn yet. How's your business going? How's work going? And so, and then the second part of that I'll say is then I started attaching the picture of the people to the database record, so that as I'm going in there 8 times a year, I keep seeing their face. So now when I walk past you in a group of 100 agents at a conference, I'm going to remember Ryan when I see him, because I see your picture 4 times a year when it pops up. So my biggest fear was that I was walking past clients. Like, we've got over 2,500 sales in my career. I can't even imagine if I knew I walked past somebody that had a great experience with me and I didn't even acknowledge them, and they saw me walk by and go, well, that was Brad Korn. He didn't even say hi.
Yeah.
We love our house.
Yeah.
They ain't calling me next time. So the evolution was by making the personal touches in social media. It's like we get to be ninja realtors, well, ninja relationship builders, because I can see what they're talking about. I don't have to remember 5,000 people's kids' names and 5,000 people's pets' names and what they do for a hobby. My data, my contact management system helps me manage those contacts, and I'll think about that stuff. But eventually, you're going to have a closer relationship with some than other, and I'm going to remember that stuff. But that was the biggest thing that I got after adding pictures and getting more personal touches in there. Here's what I figured out. 12-2 return or 50-1 return in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, right? Haven't met, if you look in that outer ring, is a 50-1 return. For every 50 people, you get one piece of business. Well, now we see 8x8 and 33 touch. I can visually see it in the book if you can see that bullseye, right? 8x8 and 33 touch, you're getting a 12-2 return. Well, here's the reality, guys. We've already all tried the all-email 33 touch when eEdge was launched, right?
Yeah.
We're still all you all are putting people on 8x8s. Almost everybody on here will say, well, I got an 8x8 going. I just have to do that 33 touch. It's not getting you a 12-2 return, because all the mail pieces in the 8x8 and the 33 touch will continue to get you a 50-1 return.
Yeah.
What gets you the 12-2 return is the call and the message.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That was probably the biggest aha I've seen out of that. The 12-2 is only the personal touches, really, that's going to get you that kind of return. Guys, that's 6 to 8 times more business than doing the 50-1 plan.
For a few phone calls.
Yeah.
Makes
the
sense.
50-1 is mass mailing to 1,000 people. I'm going to pick up one piece of business for every 50 people, and again, that's over time, right?
Yep.
But if I took those same 1,000 people, same exact 1,000 people that I'm hitting with postcard mailer, but I picked up the phone and called 5 of them a day, I'd have them all called in 10 months and wrote them all a handwritten note, I'm going to actually get more like 100 deals. Or 60 deals if you don't do it very well, or 40 deals if you really stink. And if you can only get it 25% right, you're going to get 25 deals out versus 5. You know, so that's the amazing stuff.
So that's great advice, and I want to give you a second to talk about, because you've got an awesome program coming up, which you've only scratched the surface on today, and I know you go into this a lot more. So if you want to take a bit and talk about what that is and what you can do for people and how it can really change their business.
Well, here's all I did, and this actually it was a challenge from Diana to, you know, hey, people just want this done for them. So then I thought, well, gosh, if I sit down and write a 16-week course that shows them how to get the plans in place, during 16 weeks, it's a 1-hour call every week for 16 weeks. You're going to cover 3 pillars. We're going to build your Reconnect plan. The Reconnect plan is awesome. It's 4 simple steps. A letter that goes out says, hey, I apologize for not staying in touch. You remember that? You've heard that from Dean Jackson and Joe Stump, right? Hey, I apologize for not staying in touch. I'm going to give you a call in a few days. And you can't talk about real estate on this first call, because that's how I get people to pick up the phone call. You may not talk about real estate. So how's real estate going? You know, I appreciate you asking, but today's call's not about real estate. It was really to catch up with you. I'll call you in 2 weeks and talk to you about real estate, okay? Okay, and then when you hang up that phone and you write the note, man, just imagine the impression that you left on those people. Yep. Now, there's one disclaimer, though. If they say, how's real estate, and you say, well, today's not about real estate, it's like, oh, darn, because we're like moving. I'll be right over. So we build a Reconnect plan, which is 4 simple steps. And it really is, because there's a week in between each call, I'm not piling on a bunch of stuff. I'm giving it to you in such little bite-sized pieces that you're going to understand it at a mastery level. You could interview somebody that just went through this class and did it all. You build the Reconnect plan in the first 3 calls, or in the first 3 calls we start to build that. Over the next several calls, we're going to talk about the 8x8, and then you're going to build that, and then we're going to talk about the 33 touch. And at the end of the course, We pull it all together, full circle. You got these plans kind of running and built, and you're feeding your database every day while you're going through the course. So I'm helping you develop the right habit of adding 5 people a day. Guys, I give you so many simple ways to do it. It's not gonna, you're not even gonna feel like you're working at all. And at the end of the 16 weeks, you're gonna look back and go, oh my gosh, my plans are in place, and I'm putting people in, and I've got calls to make. There's my 2 hours of lead gen time, right?
Yeah.
Then I show you how you can take those plans now that you've made 3 simple, I call them the 3 pillars to a successful real estate business: the Reconnect, the 8x8, and the 33 Touch. And the 33 Touch is the money maker. You've said it. You've said it plenty in this group chat or whatever, Google Hangout. You've said it enough that it's over time, and so that 33 Touch is the cash cow. I'll show you how you can now take those action plans and put your perfect listing process in place and automate it, your perfect buyer process in place and automate it, and so now you can take it to the next level. So anyway, I put together a site. I can even come out to an office and do it if you've got an investment. Now that's a serious investment in your business, but it's going to bring you $50,000 in the next 6 months. So all that stuff you can find at makethephoneringagain.com. makethephoneringagain.com. It will always show you when the next session's starting, when the next 16 weeks is starting. You can find out about the in-office consultation and anything else. There's also a ton of free stuff there. There's webinars on there about the 8x8 and 33 Touch and why they work. There's webinars on there that are free that show you how to set the action plans up. It's just that when you can keep working on your business, take a 1-hour call, understand it in a level you've never understood before, and then just chunk out 3 action items, have the next call. That's what the course was designed to do, is to make you a master at your database by the end of the 16 weeks. So, and it's minimal. It's $97 a month for 4 months. I mean, I looked at, you're getting in that $25 an hour that you're paying for the course. I mean, it is packed. It is a full call, and it's not just something you attend and get good information. It's set up for you to actually master it.
Which is good. It's not just sitting and having being taught, pushed at you. You're actually applying it and you're learning. And that's great.
And I just moved it to a new platform, so we're going to a webinar format now, which is going to help you to see the action plans right in front of you while I'm showing you how to build them, where before it used to be a call. So
awesome.
I appreciate you asking, because it is my one thing, and I just want everybody to understand it, because 100 deals a year. If I can do 100 deals a year this easy, anybody can. You know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that in the show notes as well, so people can check that out. So if you want to say the website again, in case people aren't on the website, what is the website again?
Yeah, www.makethephoneringagain.com. That will always be your resource to go there. And then kornteam.com/database will give you an example of some of our database stuff, and then coachkorn.com. But Make the Phone Ring Again takes you there. So
perfect. So our listeners definitely got their money's worth out of this episode, because it's free, so they've got something. So
there's all kinds of free stuff there. Yeah, tons.
Okay, so I have one last burning question for you before we go. What contact method do you use, because and what they don't use?
I do appreciate you asking that, because everybody's thinking it and everybody has the same question. So you asked the one question that I would bet 99% of the people watching this would ask. I'm going to give you one answer, the real answer first. Well, I'm going to give you the answer you need to hear first, and then I'll tell you the real answer, okay?
Yep.
So the answer you need to hear is the one you will actually use, and I'm really not kidding. In the course, we do talk about, the very first or second call, we talk about what you need to have in a database, and I challenge you to go do a trial on 3 different ones, and put 3 people in this one, 3 people in that one, 3 people in that one. Do that for a week or 2, or even a month. I don't even care that you've got scattered data, because you don't have anything organized right now anyway. You're not going to mess anything up in the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So just try them and see which one you like the best, because then you can build these plans around that. So the course is actually designed, doesn't matter which one you're using, you're going to understand how to build it. So now the answer that you really asked me was, I actually use 2. I use Top Producer and eEdge. Now before this is eEdge is database number 7. So before that, it was Top Producer and Online Agent. And before that, it was Online Agent, and I think it was Act was my very first one. I actually created what we know as Top Producer today in Act, and I manually created all the fields and everything I had to keep track of because I was doing those postcard mailings, and it's like, how am I going to remember to follow up with this person again or whatever? Because I don't have a good memory at all. That's why I put pictures and notes and everything in my database. So I created a Top Producer. But when we went from Online Agent to Top Producer, it took me 2 years to move into Top Producer because I moved my records over manually,
which is good.
because I wanted to make sure they were on the right plan. If you do a mass export and a mass import, it creates mass chaos. And if you weren't doing anything in this database and then you import them into this one and you're still not doing anything, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
So again, that's another little simple tip that we start at the beginning of the course and say, take everybody off of everything you have them on and throw them on a 12-touch. Because really, you haven't, if you can tell me you've talked to everybody in your database in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and you can tell me if they have kids, if they like dogs, what they do for fun, you've had a conversation with them, you get to keep them on your Met group. Everybody else has moved back into the haven't met group, or we redefine it as haven't connected, or lost connection, okay? Mm-hmm. So they just go on everybody goes on a 12-touch, and this is one thing I challenge everybody, and put everybody on a 12-touch, because they're like, what? Only call them once a month, and I'm only going to get 50 to 1. Yeah, that's all you're getting now anyway, right? And it'll drive you crazy to get everybody back into the Met group, so you'll move 5 over a day faster than if you just leave them all on there and feel good about what you're doing. So I do use Top Producer as my Met database right now, and I use eEdge as my haven't met database. Now they just released the announcement that you can now fully customize an action plan to make it calls, letters, emails, all that stuff in eEdge. So now we'll start moving everything into one database. But I've got so many things, customized plans running. Well, when you guys go to that site, you're going to go on a custom plan I created for real estate agents. Because we get 2 referrals a month, every month, and have been for the last 10, 15, 20 years, because realtors are getting drips from us. So that's 2 deals a month. That's 24 deals a year from realtors like you guys attending the seminar, webinar, and then giving you some free content, you know, to put into your business. So use
that is great advice. Yeah, that was awesome. That was great. There was a ton of great information. So we appreciate you being on the show, and we look forward to having some of the listeners check in on your course and learning and growing their database, and I'm excited to see what they can take away from it as well.
Oh, I appreciate it. I feel like big stuff. You've had some big names on these shows, so having little Brad Korn on here is kind of exciting. So thank you, Ryan.
We appreciate it. So thank you again for being on, and we look forward to seeing the content you're providing and getting put on those drips. So.
You bet. See you guys later.
Thanks.